Hello，各位大家好，我是轩，欢迎收看我的频道。今天呢，我们要来讲第4单元的 The Secret Workers。好，那我们今天呢就要准备开始了。那如果你还没有第3单元的话，我们来想想，我们来回顾一下，就是呢 ，Mr. Willy Wonka 就有在跟 Charlie 说，有一个故事，就 Mr. Willy Wonka 盖了一个巧克力的店，就是房子，他每个地方都是巧克力，结果呢，他呢就融化了，真的是巧克力游泳池啊！好，那我们接下来呢，我们来看一下我们这个上面。My mother, I must hear. Tomorrow, my darling. That's right, said Grandpa Joe. I'll tell you the rest of it tomorrow evening. 好，今天呢，我们呢就要再来跟大家讲第4单元到底发生了什么事，大家期不期待？好，在期待之前呢，如果你还没有订阅的话，请你帮我按赞、订阅、开启小铃铛哦。The Secret Worker. The next evening, Grandpa Joe went on with his story. You see, Charlie, he said, not very long ago, there used to be thousands of people working in Mr. Willy Wonka's factory. Then one day, all of a sudden, Mr. Wonka had to ask every single one of them to leave, to go home, never to come back. But why? Because of spies. Spies? 好，可能有些同学会认为说 spies 它这个意思是什么呢？就是间谍。间谍的意思就是说，就是你去别人的工厂，然后去偷窥一些事情。我们等一下来看一下，到底他们在偷窥什么，好吗？ Yes.All the other chocolate makers had begun to grow jealous of the wonderful candies that Mr. Wonka was making. And they started sending in spies to steal his secret recipe. 好 ，Mr. Willy Wonka 会做出那些好吃的甜点，一定是有原因的嘛。好，所以呢，他们呢想要去偷窥那个秘密食谱哦。The spies took job in the Wonka's factory, pretending that they were ordinary workers. And while they were there, each one of them found out exactly how a certain special thing was made. And did they go back to their own factory and tell? Asked Charlie. They must have, answered Grandpa Joe. Because soon after that, Thicker Grubber's factory started making an ice cream that would never melt, even in the hottest sun. 大家还记得吗？我们在好像 Chapter 1还 Chapter 2有说过哦。如果还不记得的，去资讯栏里面。Then Mr. Prognosis' factory came out with a chewing gum that never lost its flavor, however much you chewed it. And then Mr. Slugworth's factory began making candy balloons that you can blow up to huge sizes before you pop them with a bin and gobble them up. And so on and so on. Mr. Willy Wonka tore his bird and shouted, "This is terrible. I shall be ruined. There are spies everywhere. I shall have to close the factory." 好，我们来看看，这边我有一个句子想要讲 ，I shall be ruined. I shall be ruined 的意思，这应该毁了哦 ，ruin，OK？、There are spies everywhere. 啊，好，这边讲 ，But he didn't do that. Oh, yes, he did. He told all the workers that he was sorry, but they would have to go home. Have to go home. 他们一定要回家。Then he shut the main gates and fastened them with a chain. And suddenly, Wonka's giant factory became silent and deserted. The chimney stopped smoking. The machine stopped whirring. And from then on, not a single chocolate or candy was made. Not a store went in or out. Not even Mr. Willy Wonka himself disappeared completely. Months and months went by. Grandpa Joe went on, but still the factory remained closed. And everybody said, poor Mr. Wonka, he was so nice and he made such a marvelous thing. But he's finished now. It's all over. Then something astonishing happened. One day early in the morning, the columns of white smoke were seen to be coming out of tops of the tall chimney of the factory. People in the top stopped and stared. What's going on? They cried. Something's lit in the furnace. Mr. Wonka must be opening up again. They ran to the gate, expecting that they would see the wide up and Mr. Wonka standing there and welcome his worker back. 他觉得应该会很欢迎。But no, the great iron gate was still locked into chain as sexually as ever. And Mr. Wonka was now here to be seen. But the factory is working, the people shouted. Listen, listen. You can hear the machine. They're all wiring again. And you can smell the smell of melting chocolate in the air. Grandpa Joe leaned forward and laid a long, bony finger on Charlie's knee. And he said softly, but most mysterious as all, Charlie, was a shadow in the windows of the factory. The people standing on the street outside could see a small, dark shadow moving about behind the frosted glass window. Shadow of whom? Said Charlie quickly. That's exactly what everybody wanted to know. This place is full of workers, the people shouted. But nobody gone in. The gates were locked. It's crazy. But nobody ever come out either. But there was no question at all, said Grandpa Joe, that the factory was running and it's gone on running ever since. For these last 10 years. Wait. 好的，各位，我的拍照技术没有很好，我接下来就念给你们听，然后如果你们看得到就看得到。What's more, the chocolate and candies it's been turning out of have become more fantastic and delicious all the time. And of course, now when Mr. Wonka invites some new and wonderful candy, neither Mr. Fluckle Grabber nor Mr. Pronose nor Mr. Slugworth nor anybody else is able to copy it. No spies can go into the factory to find out how it is made. But Grandpa, who? Cried Charlie. Who is Mr. Wonka using to do all the work in factory? Nobody knows, Charlie. But that's absurd. Hasn't anybody asked Mr. Willy Wonka? Nobody see him anymore. He never comes out. The only thing that comes out was the place of chocolate and candies. They came out through a special trapdoor in the wall, all packed and addressed. And they are picked up every day by the post office truck. But Grandpa, what sort of people are they that work in there? My dear boy, said Grandpa Joe, that is one of the great mysteries of the chocolate making world. We know only one thing about them. They are very small. The faint shadow that sometimes appear behind the window, especially late at night, when the lights are those of tiny people no taller than my knee. There aren't any such people, Charlie said. Just then, Mr. Bucket, Charlie's father, came into the room. He was home from the toothpaste factory, and he was waving an evening newspaper rather excitedly. Have you any guys heard the news? He cried. He held up the paper so that they could see the huge headline. Wonka's factory to be opened at last to lucky few. 哇塞，这个 Wonka's factory 他们又要开了，那这也就是我们第5单元第5 chapter 5的一个最大的重点啦。那也会跟你讲这新闻里面讲什么。好，讲完这4个单元，我们现在统计一下，尤其是第4单元，大家可能有些听不懂，对不对？如果听不懂，我现在来帮你讲一下。就是呢，因为他们之前有间谍嘛，所以呢，他们呢不在。Mr. Willy Wonka 有一天就把那个 factory 就把工厂呢，关门了。然后呢，不知道。就是可能很多个月后，有一年，他有一天，大家又发现那个烟囱有在 chocolate making 的那种烟，然后它很香，然后呢，大家就很期待，就赶快跑去那个巧克力工厂的前面，然后就是他们以为的场面是会看到Mr. Willy Wonka 在欢迎他们的这个员工，结果不是。是他们的这个铁门都还是关紧紧的，这个大疑问我们之后就会找到了哈。好，那我们的Mr. Willy Wonka 的 factory 好像要再度的开始了，我们到底会发生什么事？我们继续看下去。那我们如果呢你是第一次来看，或是你呢看完这个故事很有趣，觉得很有趣的，赶快按暂停，然后呢往下记得按赞、订阅、开启小铃铛。好啦，我是炫，
我是 Julian，
我们呢就下次见，拜拜。